Good evening and welcome to the July 2nd meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission of Manitou Springs. I'm going to start out with the purpose of the Historic Preservation Commission is to protect and enhance districts of historic significance and instill and foster civic pride in the legacy and achievement of the past, and to improve the economic vitality of the historic areas of the community through encouraging compatible rehabilitation of historic structures. The Historic Preservation Commission is responsible for reviewing plans for building in the historic district for architectural appropriateness and to ensure proposals meet the city's design guidelines, which are based on the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation. So now we can take roll, starting with Matt Murphy.
Commissioner Murphy.
Okay.
Matt Rose, Commissioner.
Ann Nichols, Commissioner.
Erin Handlin, Commissioner.
And thank you and welcome, Erin, to your first meeting.
Thank you.
And I'm Laura Kenseth, Chair. Okay, the minutes from the June 1st, what was it? The June 1st meeting? Does anyone have any comments or
I didn't
corrections?
see the minutes.
I didn't see. Yeah, I didn't see the minutes.
They weren't posted.
You know what? I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Did I read the minutes?
Were there minutes posted? I don't think.
I think.
We had no minutes for this month.
Oh, okay. And we don't have because I don't think we had last month's
We did.
either. But
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll catch up next time.
Yeah, I think last month's minutes, during that meeting at least, they were still with the city clerk. And this month we're just a little behind.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Any public comment on non-agenda items? Public? Is anyone on remotely?
Only parties that are here for agenda items.
Thanks. Okay, notice of council action?
I don't believe we have any notice of council action apart from the appointment of Erin Handlin as a new HPC commissioner.
Thanks. And unfinished business? Nope. All right. We can move on to new business. So I'll just explain the order of proceedings for the public hearing part of the meeting. We will begin with a presentation by staff. Then the commissioners will ask questions of staff. Then the applicant can make a statement and commissioners can ask questions of the applicant. Then we open to public comment. And that could include statements in favor of the project or against the project. And then we're finished there, close public comment. And that will be followed by a commissioner's discussion and a motion and vote. So the first project tonight is MCAC 2506 2-4 Canyon Avenue, exterior alterations. Oh my goodness. Okay. I have to say one other thing. Do any commissioners have ex parte communications or conflict of interests that they need to declare? Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Chair
Okay.
Kinsa. Chelsea Royston for the record. The application for MCAC 2506 at 2 and 4 Canyon Avenue is for our exterior alterations, and the applicant is the owner, Beth Pasture. We also have a couple other folks here along with the applicant as well. This request is to reconstruct porches on the rear of the buildings. It is in the downtown zone district and in the commercial core historic subdistrict. I'll get into a little bit of the background. The historic building, we say at 2 and 4 Canyon Avenue, it is 2 attached buildings, but they had a previous porch that extended over Fountain Creek and was constructed over time, kind of in an ad hoc fashion. There was minimal architectural or structural integrity, resulting in a unsafe structure that was incompatible with the historic district. Again, this was on the rear of the building. It was on the north facade and spanned the Fountain Creek channel. Administrative approval for the demolition of the previous porch was granted in December 2024 due to a structural assessment by a professional engineer that indicated that the structure was unsafe. In working with the applicant and her design team, they indicated that they didn't know how they didn't want to settle on how to design the new porch until they were able to do kind of an exploratory demolition almost of the existing structure and find out how best to construct the new porch while protecting the historic facade and again spanning Fountain Creek. It's an unusual way that has to be designed. And so staff, again, worked within the code and administratively approved that partial demolition of those porches with the understanding that they would come back for an MCAC and work with Pikes Peak Regional Building Department for building plans and a waiver of replat is also required for this property as it's not a wholly platted lot. This MCAC is only for the reconstruction of the porch and will not impact the historic structure other than that this will be attached to it. I do have, excuse me, sorry. Wasn't quite finished there, but in the red square here on the screen, you can see the previous porch. Again, it had kind of screening that was lattice. It was different types of materials throughout the porch itself, as well as the roof. Here is a photo supplied by the applicants of the structure underneath the porch. The area outlined in blue is the Fountain Creek Channel. So you can see that this is really, it's a concrete channel there. And so the footers aren't necessarily going, it's not spanning a creek, really, it's spanning just the channel. And so while there is water in the channel, it does create different construction constraints using the concrete walls as the basis of the building and the porch. Again, here's another image supplied by the applicant showing that just the structure of the porch as well as the previous footers. And here is a nice shot of the historic facade that will be maintained. They're not proposing to remove any portion of that in order to construct this porch. Here is the porch as it sits exactly 2 hours ago. And they again had removed portions of it in accordance with our approval and are waiting for this hearing to proceed with their building permit. In my analysis, this MCAC is a little unique in that the historic inventory reports that were completed in 1991 indicate that the historic structures are contributing to the historic district, but they don't mention the rear facade at all. They don't mention any porches. It's really just that storefront that is contributing to the historic district. So in reviewing the Manitou Springs Historic District Design Guidelines, as well as the Secretary of the Interior's criteria, it didn't seem that many of the kind of predetermined categories, such as construction, new construction in a commercial district, things like that really apply to this proposed development. So in the spirit of the creativity of the prior porch, I kind of created my own review, and I looked at areas that are commonly referenced as metrics for compatibility in a historic district. Things like materials, scale, orientation, and roof forms in particular. And the staff report goes into it in some detail about how this design is harmonious with the not only the historic structure itself, but with the historic district. And so on the screen now are the proposed elevations. And the lower story of the porch will be enclosed with walls and will be clad in horizontal fiber cement lap siding that is consistent with the material that is on the front facade of 2 Canyon Avenue. There will also be stairs with a prefab steel railing, which will minimize the visual impact that the railing has on the overall facade, while maintaining the structural integrity and safety components of that upper deck that will remain open as kind of a porch. The existing roof line will be maintained, so there won't be a porch cover on this one the way there was on the previous porch. But instead you'll be able to see the historic roof line there. There are exterior stairs, which act as a secondary egress for the building. And those will again meet the lower level and exit on the north bank of the channel. The doors that you can see on the facade are they are vinyl doors, but again, there were no historic windows that were visible on that facade prior to this development. Those doors are consistent with new doors that are found throughout the district. So with that, should the Historic Preservation Commission find it appropriate to approve MCAC 2506, staff recommends the condition that any changes to the proposed design required by other review agencies, such as the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, shall be subject to administrative review and approval by the Manitou Springs Planning Department. The Planning Department may require subsequent review by the Historic Preservation Commission for substantial changes to the proposed design. I'm recommending this condition so that we can expedite their building permit approval. It's common that building permits, especially for those that are complex and span a creek, they may have technical changes that would be required of the design, and I would like the Historic Preservation Commission to consider granting staff the approval to review and approve that if it is consistent with the design that has been presented tonight. So with that, here's the motion language, though I know there are a few steps to complete before you get to that part. So with that, that concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have questions for staff?
Yes. Are the drawings that we're seeing and the plans that we're seeing now developed by a structural engineer? Is that what could change then upon further review from the building department?
The elevations that were shown were designed by Butcher Architects. And so they do have structural engineers on their team. But it's not uncommon that even with professional design teams for Pikes Peak Regional to require splices or technical changes.
Okay. And all of the railings and things meet accepted code for safety?
That would be reviewed by the building department. So that would be a great example of a change that may come through if they're, say they require 43-inch height railing or something, and this is, 40-inch. Just again, for example, I'm sure we actually have a member of Butcher Design on the call here, but that would be an example of a design that I could then approve administratively if it is consistent with what's been presented.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions for staff?
Yeah, Commissioner Murphy, for the record. I see that it's mentioned that Trex deck boards are going to be used. But I don't see it in the elevation. So is that like a recommendation, a possibility, or is Trex going to be used?
Trex is proposed to be used for the flat surfaces, so the stair treads as well as the decking.
Okay, and then I guess fascia as well, or no?
So fascia of the wall would be the fiber cement siding rather than.
That's
Okay.
noted as hardy board on
Yeah.
the drawings.
Okay, all right. I think that's going to be really nice that Trex boards used in there.
And one part of the application that I failed to mention here in my verbal presentation, but it is in the staff report. The applicants are proposing the fiber cement siding as well as the decking and the steel railing in an effort to support fire mitigation. And so these materials are fire resistant and support other documents that have been created by the city for public safety. I think Commissioner Hanlon did have a question as well.
Right.
Commissioner Erin Handlin for the record. What is the siding on the front of the building? Is it wood or hardy plank?
Could we ask the applicant that? I do know it has the same reveal, but I actually not sure off the top of my head.
And that's when we're going to go on to asking them, the applicants. So that would be a good question for them. So do the commissioners have any more questions? Okay, and you are the applicants. Could you please introduce yourselves with your names and address? Hit the,
There we go.
there you go.
Can you hear me now? All right.
There you go.
All right, this is Beth Pashier. She is the owner of Twin Bears. My name is Dan Herman. I own Avalon Development Company that is an A licensed contractor, and I am the one that's going to be helping her with the rebuild. Just a brief note of my history. I am the contractor that rebuilt the White House Ranch in Garden of the Gods and restored it back to its original form. So am I familiar with what we're doing? Very much so. That being said, could I pass these out real quick for you to look at?
Sure.
There's one for each of them.
And could you please describe for the folks that are joining us digitally what the document is?
Yeah, those are pictures of the existing deck before we demoed it. It was difficult to see on the screen, so that's why I bought these with me, so you could see the condition. I also have pictures that support the safety issues that we had, which were extensive. And our biggest fear was somebody getting hurt because it was a very real possibility. That being said, let's start with the front of the current building. There are two different kinds of siding on there right now, and it is older wood siding. The beauty of the cement board is unless you go and tap it, you can't tell if it's wood or if it's cement board. It's made to look just like real wood. The benefits of it, its longevity is priceless. It lasts for as long as all of us will be alive. Once painted, you will never, ever know the difference between that and wood. I gave you a picture of the different types of siding and the looks that it can have. And that's what we're going to be applying to the back of the building.
That was included in our packet too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, it will enhance the back of that building dramatically. We are bringing the back of the building and we're restoring it to compete with the front of the building. So we're creating a whole package for Beth and Twin Bears. So when you look at it, it will have the same historical complements that the front of the building has. The handrails will be in two different heights. 36 inches is a common handrail. However, 42 inches is a guardrail. Where the guardrail is needed, which will be on the upper level, that will be the height. You have 4 inches of clearance in between the pickets, and that is code. So that's how that will be constructed. Part of that rail will be metal, and just the top part will be wood, so that we try to keep with the historic flavor that the building has. So that's really the long and short of it. You can tell by the pictures I gave you that unfortunately the building was pretty hodgepodge. I think it's probably 30 or 40 or 50 years of people doing little things to it, which had no historic value whatsoever. So what we are doing is we're complementing the building and we're complementing the historic preservation of which you guys are after. So are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The railing in the drawings for the lower portion of the stairs, when we're looking at the drawing 3, detail 3, the building elevation, it does not show any vertical.
That's an architectural quirk. They know that both the building department and especially myself, I've been building for 52 years. So why he doesn't show that?
Yeah, it would, I'm sure it would be required by code, which isn't what we're here to decide anyway, but I am curious. why you choose to use a metal rail instead of wood, which wood seems like it would be more in keeping with the backside of those buildings.
It,
Perhaps the metal would be more durable, but there certainly are strong and safe wood railings as well.
well, a good example, when I used to build in Aspen, Colorado in the 70s, we did a lot of historic preservation there as well. And you had the ornate wood spindles that they used along with the top handrail. We would mix both metal and wood. And can you tell the difference if you go up and knock on it? Yes. But to just look at it visually, there's really not much of a difference. You know, depend on the type of rail you're using. It depends on the type of spindles that you're using. So there's nothing really called out in here, but if there's something that you would prefer that you think is necessary, I will certainly address that.
I'm not sure if there's something that I would prefer. I don't know about anybody else, but I was just curious about the metal handrail. I actually don't see, it just said, oh, prefab steel handrail. Yeah, that's the only thing. I think it's a great representation of you know, putting a better face on the back of the building.
Yes, sir.
For sure. And the hardy board is a great way to do that. And I know how that looks. Same with Trex as far as the surface for the decking and steps. I am just curious about what anybody else feels too about the you know, having a steel rail there. I just think you know, you've made the effort to be compatible with the type of building that it is, you know, and the way the rest of the area looks. Even though this is much improved, I just wonder about the wood.
One
railing.
of the issues that we've had with the location that we're building in is the river below. It creates a lot of moisture and the wood tends to rot and the paint tends to peel rather quickly. So in an effort to maintain the look, the preservation, the steel functions much, much better than the wood does. That's really the only difference.
Okay. So
The
it would be a powder coated finish then on it.
It'll
Or
either
something
be
like
a
that.
powder coat or it'll be a good paint, one of the two.
That's all I had.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments
Yeah.
about that?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'm fine with the comments he made. I think we do need to continue to keep in mind, this is not the primary facade. This is going to be a huge improvement over what it used to look like, but it is not the primary facade.
Mm.
So I think the comment about the moisture is probably right on, and I'm fine with metal railing.
Yes, I agree with that. Excuse me. That the metal rail will certainly be better maintenance wise. And again, this is, I guess it's considered an alley, which we don't really have any guidelines for. But, and it is obviously new construction. And I think the rest of the materials fit in well. And I also think, what? Oh, okay. I also just think that, I guess, call it an alleyway has a certain charm, and that every building is different and unique, and even especially the ones that have the corrugated metal siding that just shows the era. I mean, it kind of tells a story, I think, the way that whole the back of the buildings work. And so, yeah, and I think that this is a great improvement.
Well, after looking at the pictures of what it did look like,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it is a huge improvement.
Mhm.
And we've really made, with Beth's permission, an effort to produce something that is good to the eyes.
Mhm.
So it will It will literally compete with the front of the buildings that run throughout Manitou.
Right, okay. Matt, did you have?
Yeah, I just had one question. I was looking at the packet, and there's a picture of the front of the building, and it says trim around new doors shall be 4 inches wide and match white finish. But there's also like some detail in the trim around the windows in the front of the building. Is that going to be tried? Are you going to try to match that in the back as well, or is it just going to be 4 inch wide?
He's talking about the upstairs, yeah.
Yes, the upstairs in the front.
Um, you know, we can purchase a Hardy backer trim that will coincide with the siding. So I think that comes in 3 inch or 3 1/4 inches, and then it jumps up to 5 inches. So we'll probably go with the 3 1/4. That's as close to the existing in the front as we can.
Okay. I was just curious about that. I think like was said earlier, I think it's going to be a big improvement, and I like walking down that back road and looking at all those porches that hang over the creek. So I'm interested to see how it turns out.
Well, there's definitely some horror stories back there.
Okay, we can now open the public comment. Are there any comments from the public, either in favor of or not in favor of this project? No?
I don't see any online.
Okay, then we can close the public comment and commissioners, if you have any further discussion about the project?
I don't have anything else.
No? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I would move to approve the material change of appearance certification. I'm just going to read the option for 2 to 4 Canyon Avenue, based on the findings and the request meets the review criteria for gaining material change of appearance certification as set forth by City Code Section 17.04.050.B.5 with staff conditions as outlined.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. It looks like the motion passes 5-0. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Much needed.
Yes. You have no idea.
What's that?
Oh, much needed. I'm like, you have no idea.
Okay, so the next project is we don't. Thank you. The next project is a grant application, MGA 2503 for 133. Is it 133 or 131 Washington?
131 Washington.
131 Washington. Okay, for re-roofing.
Sorry, for the record, Zachary Davison, planner. For mini grant application. I have mixed up, bear with me. Mini grant application 2503 for a re-roof at 131 Washington Avenue. Applicants Karen and Ramon, they are not with us today. So the request, as previously stated, is a re-roof. The property is zoned general residential and it is in the Upper Washington subdistrict. Here is an overview of the location right behind us up on the hill. Here is a front, just for reference. This picture has nothing to do with what is being requested. And some pictures of the repair area. There's some pretty severe degradation of the roof panels. They'll also seek to fix any ancillary parts of the roof, the drainage and things like that kind of go with the re-roof. And that's all for this one. If the HPC finds it appropriate, staff has no conditions. The motion language is as follows: approve the request to grant the application for 131 Washington, approve the request with conditions, deny the request or postpone the request until August 6th, 2025. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions for staff? No? Okay.
Maybe,
Oh,
since we won't have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, we could ask staff. I do have a question.
oh,
Please,
don't-
yes.
Is there, do we have, because they're not here, right?
oh, they're not here.
No.
Oh.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Is there any, I'm not aware in our guidelines of any color restriction or things for the roof. I think it specifically says that we don't have any jurisdiction over that. Do you have any idea what the plan is just to replace it with like for like, or?
Correct, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
so
what-
there is no color outlined in the code, but it does have to kind of maintain, like you said, the like for like, and any substantial change would require an MCAC, and I did discuss this with them. And they reassured me that it's going to be the same kind of a sandstone brownish color.
Thank you.
So, and it's the entire roof, is that
Correct,
right?
yes,
Not just a
the
area.
entire roof.
Would you be able to put the photo of the house back up?
The front, or would you like the areas that they're seeking?
The front.
Hmm.
All right, moving too fast. Here we go.
Are we good? Okay, so the applicant is not here. I think the project is probably pretty straightforward, just replacing like for like. And I guess we can make a motion.
I mean, you could open it up. You could see if there's any-
Oh, yes. So I can open public comment. Is there anyone in favor of or against this project? Okay. Okay. I'll close
These aren't actually.
public comment.
hearings, are they?
No, they approve them, but there's not. They're just approving the funds.
Sorry, it was just, mini grants are not approved through public hearing, so, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing public comment, but it is not required for mini grants.
I didn't think so.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Good. Okay. All right. So do we have a motion?
Sure, I would move approval of MGA 2503 as presented.
Second? Do we have a second?
I would second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And Matt Murphy's the aye. Okay. Okay, so again, the motion passes 5-0. And our next project is also a mini grant application. MGA 2504, 128 Spencer Avenue, paint and external repair.
Yes, MGA 2504. We have Andrew and Samantha with us today. And as you stated, they are seeking funds for exterior repairs where necessary. There, as we'll see in the photos shortly, there are certain portions that may need repair due to being rotten or broken. And then they seek to paint as well. And there's an ample amount of portions that may need to be removed because it's very flaky. And here it is, the overview. And the front of the facade, this is also referred to as Davis Castle #1 in the historic inventory from 1991. And the repair areas here with substantial repair needed. And just let me know if you want to go back to some of those photos, but that is all the photos I have for this one. So the motion language for this, for the board, approve the request with conditions, deny the request, or postpone the request until August 6th, the next meeting, 2025.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for staff? No questions? Okay. May the applicants come forward? And please introduce yourselves, with name and address.
My name is Andrew Denary. This is my wife, Samantha Denary, and we are at 128 Spencer Avenue.
I'm Samantha Denary at 128 Spencer Avenue.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicants? Or would you like to make a statement, add more
Sure.
information for us?
So we just closed on this home at the end of May, and it was originally built by William A. Davis, the proprietor of the Soda Springs Pavilion there that you see in that nice photo. Basically we're only the fifth owners. In the late 1990s, there was a couple who did extensive renovations on this home. It lasted about 6 years. They won awards for it as well. Unfortunately, I think when they sold it in 2017, I think it probably was already needing repainting. And the owner after that, who's had it for the last 8 years, has not done that. And hence the dry rot that you see in those photos there. So we really, we don't want to do anything radical. We really just want to preserve what's there. We love the house. And I think she's not a fan of the mauve accent, but that's about all we want to change. So anyway, but we just really want to preserve what's there. They did so much work to, some of that fascia is actually original. And the couple that did the renovations actually used photographs from the late 19th century to recreate a lot of the stuff that had, was no longer there. So we just want to preserve it and then fix what needs fixed.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
I don't have a question. It's a beautiful home,
Oh, thank you.
and that's going to be quite a project.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of details there. Yeah.
Yes, and so nice that everything is still remains
Yeah.
in, it appears really good condition, just feeling paint.
It's a wonderful
So
place.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, yeah.
good to see,
It
yeah.
was 20 years to get back here, but
Yeah, we lived on the avenue and we used to admire this place
From our
20 years
porch.
ago from our porch, and that'd be cool to live there someday.
yeah.
So we feel very lucky.
Very nice. Yes. Well, Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll motion to approve, what is the MGA number on this one?
2504.
I'll motion to approve MGA 2504 without conditions.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of approving MGA 2504?
Aye.
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 So it's 5-0 approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very
It is.
Yeah.
Good. Sure. Do we have any old business to discuss?
Last meeting, we talked about possibly having a working session to talk about updating guidelines. Fred shared with us a webinar he watched or he participated in about guidelines. And also we have the chapter 17 to review. We were going to try to schedule a working session to put our heads
Right.
together on that.
Right, and I think we discussed that at the webinar meeting, and he I think one of the concerns is funding a felicitator for the meeting, which I think we definitely need.
Yeah.
But Fred is working on that.
Yeah, I can.
So that's in progress.
Tell you that the last time we went through the guidelines, and we may have done it twice since I've been on the commission, it's a very big process. And it's very important that there be outreach to the community. That's a really significant part of it. I can't imagine that we would do it without a consultant. They add a ton because they're in tune with current historic preservation guidelines and practices. And we saw some of that on this webinar.
Right.
But
right.
I think without the ability to hire a consultant, it would be, if that's where we are this year, and I don't know for sure that's where we are, but it would be best to put it off until we have that capability.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't have an official update, but I believe the appropriate approach would be to for staff to put together kind of an RFP, RFQ. Anyways, something that we can use to get estimates on what it would cost to have a consultant engage with us on this. And then from there, we can use that to inform our budget request for next fiscal year.
And I think, what was the example, the sample ordinance? Was it Durango or
The guidelines.
that we were to look at for the title 17?
The actual.
The ordinance, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
know Fred has other entities ordinances that he was
Mhm.
looking at. I don't know.
Yeah, just to
Durango.
kind of review
Yeah, I don't remember.
something for,
We've got a lot going on. I mean, there's the ordinance revision and then the guidelines, which again are a very big process.
And the chapter 17 revision or
ordinance.
consideration is supposed to be in 2025, correct?
I think
I think
so.
that's
Yeah.
supposed to be what
Right.
our plan was anyway.
Yes,
And my guess is, and I think Fred has indicated this, because you can rely a lot on what other entities have done, that is something you could probably do in-house.
I think so, yeah. That yes, I believe we do have the technical expertise to be able to update the ordinance itself, but the design guidelines and like you said, the current preservation trends, and I know that's an odd, probably a misnomer of sorts, but yes, I do think that those are two separate projects. And so I think
Yes.
we would be able to, planning staff would be able to update the ordinance itself. When we are able to do that, I think is a little bit of a trickier question. I do know that it is in the forefront of our goals and that we are trying to map out, I guess, the remainder of our year in terms of code updates. We do have a couple that are mandated by the state that we're working on currently for Chapter 18. So I appreciate your continued patience while we, bring that to the front of the queue.
Thanks for saying it that way. I just wanted to bring it up because I didn't want it to fall between the cracks.
Right. Right. Because we're about halfway through 2025. So
I'll just make an additional comment. I think it's important to recognize that we actually do have pretty good guidelines. I mean, when the webinar
I
pointed
agree.
out that there are communities that don't even have guidelines.
Right.
And we've gone through a number of iterations, updating them. Again, the interaction with the community is central to doing that well, because you get a lot of feedback from the community. And we have the last 2 times we've done it. But I think we do have very usable guidelines. It's not like we don't have anything that's capable of being used. They certainly need to be updated. They always do. But we're in pretty good shape, I think, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. Having gone through them recently, I didn't find anything that stood out and made me gasp. I mean, it all seemed pretty reasonable. So I'm following just, other people who've been on the commission longer saying we need to review these, and it's on our agenda to review them. So that's kind of why. Otherwise, they look pretty good.
Yeah, especially they are specific to each of the historic sub-districts, which is incredibly helpful when we're reviewing these applications and others that are able to be administratively approved. That's essential. I think, honestly, if we could add 2 rather than even, I think adding components for, fire safety and kind of eco-friendly components. I think those are 2 of the sticking points where we're kind of like, okay, well, what do we say about solar? What do we say about these things that can be added to these buildings without detracting from the historic? So that's just my musings, but I can't wait to dive into that with you all.
sounds good. Okay. No more comments about Title 17 and guidelines. We can adjourn the meeting at 6:23.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.